Well, join us to look at this particular letter is from our Abuja studios. I need to get that out. Chief Femi Fani-Kayode, he joins us from our Abuja studios. Good morning, Chief, and thanks for joining us. A whole lot has been said about this particular letter. I'll start by asking, have you gone through this letter?
Yes, I have. I've read the letter a number of times. I've read the letter a number of times.
Because there are so many talk, gist coming out of this particular letter. Some say we have different versions, and that is why we wanted to find out if you have actually seen the complete version of this particular letter, and tell us your thought about it.
Well, not only have I read the letter, I've also discussed contents of the letter with President Obasanjo, and I've been doing so for the last 2 days. So I'm conversant with what's there, my view, as I've said elsewhere, is that it was a timely letter, it was historic, it was necessary, and it needed to be said. And this country is going adrift, and I think if an elder statesman and somebody that was instrumental in ensuring that President Goodluck Jonathan became president of this country, before that became vice president of this country, if that person who's considered as a father to the president and a father to the nation and a father to the PDP is not in a position or is not ready to tell us the truth about what's going on in our country and what is going on with our president, when the signals are clear and the danger signals are there that the country is on the brink of disaster, I think if he's not qualified to speak, if he's not qualified to say what needs to be said publicly in order to help the president to chart the right course, then I really wonder who is. So I'm in great support of the fact that the letter was written. However, I don't agree with everything. I think I agree with 99% of the assertions and the contents there. It's not everything I agree with. There are one or two aspects, particularly on the issue of Lagos State and Bola Tinubu, that I would respectfully disagree with President Obasanjo on, in terms of how Lagos was won. But other than that, I agree with everything else that he has written in that letter, and I think he's been courageous and he's shown leadership, and those of us that were his disciples and that worked for him for a number of years can now hold our heads up high that even though he got it wrong, by supporting people like Goodluck Jonathan to be president in the first place, he's finally retraced his steps and he's doing the right thing and he's cleaning up the mess that he partly created.
Well, I'm happy that you, someone who's best described as one of the closest aides to former President Obasanjo, could as well say on national television that you also can disagree with him in some areas in that particular document and in making some other decisions. But now let's try and see if we can look at some of those issues raised. And he also talked about the election and the president's intention to just go for one term. This is the very first time we're getting to hear former President Obasanjo come strong on this particular matter. Do you think it is absolutely necessary that he speaks about this at this time?
I didn't get it. Oh, yeah. I think it's vital that he speaks at this time. I think it's timely and necessary, and I think he's done the responsible and honorable thing. It's not an easy thing. I mean, he's put his life on the line. He's put the life of so many of those around him, his family members, on the line. You know how the system is in this country, and indeed in all Africa. But the point is this, that he has done the right thing, and he's made his contribution, he's made his submissions, he's raised some very serious issues which need to be addressed. And I think the right and proper thing to do is for the government and the president himself to personally, as an individual, not any of his aides or ministers, to try to address these issues. This man has been the head of state 3 times in this country. This man collected or ensured that during the Civil War, he got the Igbos to surrender. He collected the surrender of the Igbos. He took their surrender. This man has contributed immensely to the fortunes of Nigeria. And at every point in time in our history, if you look at it, during the Shagari regime, who he handed over to after one term, he didn't need to hand over to them, but he handed over to them and honored his word. Having done that, when the Shagari government was going adrift, he spoke out and things happened. After that, the Babangida regime came in some time later. When they got it wrong, he spoke out and things happened. After that, He became president. Then, of course, he was succeeded by Yar'Adua. Yar'Adua eventually got it wrong, fell ill, was in a Saudi Arabian hospital, and was running the country from his sickbed. Again, Obasanjo spoke out and said, this is wrong, and things happened. Now Goodluck Jonathan came in. He supported him. For the last 3 years, he has been managing him, encouraging him, and he has been assisting him, and defending him, much to the disagreement of many of us that felt he got it wrong right from the start. But Obasanjo has been defending him. Now it has got to the point that his own party, the PDP, which I might add I am no longer a member of, but his own party is falling apart. We have 5 governors that have just left. At least 4 are preparing to leave. And, you know, the whole world is falling apart for the PDP, and that, it may be bad for them, but what's worse is that the whole country is falling apart. $50 billion has gone missing, according to the governor of Central Bank. Assassins were on the prowl, according to Obasanjo's letter, and so on and so forth. The country is falling apart. Regional, religious divide, and so on and so forth. It is absolutely important that people like Obasanjo, and indeed others, speak out to ensure that this country does not end up either ending up in a civil war or having the democracy truncated by a military coup or anything else. I mean, this is why this man is spoken out. And I might add, I don't think it's something that is confrontational. I think my understanding of the letter is that it's like reaching out to the president to say, look, you've gone adrift. You're not listening to me. I spoke to you privately on a number of occasions. I wrote to you, didn't respond. Now I'm making it public. And it's an attempt to restore the PDP as a party, its fortunes, and to restore the country and to ensure that the country doesn't fall, doesn't cross the line and fall over the bin. And I think to that extent it's honorable. And I'd add one more thing. It reminds me very much of the letter, the submissions that were made on the floor of the House of Commons by Geoffrey Howe when he was Chancellor of the Exchequer and later Foreign Minister to Margaret Thatcher, who was the British Prime Minister, when he literally stuck the knife in and cut her jugular and said that, look, it's time for her to go. It took that acted as a catalyst for the eventual downfall of Margaret Thatcher. History can testify to that. I believe that Obasanjo's letter is historic, it's timely, and I think it will actually end up ensuring that President Goodluck Jonathan's fortunes as president of the country post-2015 may not be realized. I believe this is the end of Jonathan, and I believe it's the end of the PDP as a party, unless Jonathan retraces his steps.
Some say the former president is actually backing on a selfish mission and not for the interests of the nation.
Okay, well, I mean, you say selfish, but he's put his neck on the line. You say selfish, he's done something that everybody else is thinking about. Everybody. I mean, when I say everybody, probably everybody outside of the villa or his ministers know that these things are very serious concerns. He's made allegations, and these allegations reflect the thinking of the overwhelming majority of elder statesmen. I won't speak for President Babangida or General Abdul Salami Abubakar or any of the others that were copied, or General Danjuma. But I can assure you that the overwhelming majority of elders in this country and people in this country worry about either one or all or some of these issues that have been raised by President Obasanjo. Now, I don't think it's selfishness to do that. If he wanted to be selfish, what he would do is tell President Goodluck Jonathan, listen, I put you there, you're my boy, you can do anything you like, you can be rest assured that I will not rock the boat, I will keep quiet, I'll be a good father, in quotation marks, and I'll let you get away with ruining the country. And by the way, you can steal as much money as you like, you can organize to silence and possibly kill as many opposition figures as you like, you can ensure that Nigeria is divided on religious and regional and tribal lines as much as you like, you can ensure that the Ijaw nation rules the Nigeria as much as you want, and really it doesn't matter to me because I'm your father and I'm not selfish and I want you to get away with everything that you're doing. Now, if he were to do that, that is what I'd call being selfish and totally unacceptable. He has done the opposite. He has gone against the tide. He has spoken the truth. He has said, I'm not scared of death. I've said what I have to say. I created this situation. I brought you, and it's left for me, or rather God used me to bring you, and it's left to me to tell you the truth, get it right, or prepare to get out. Whatever it is, my interest is Nigeria, the unity of Nigeria, the peace of Nigeria, and the preservation of democracy. And I think it was right and proper proper for Obasanjo to do that. Like I said, he's not an angel, and I may not agree with everything, but I do agree with 99% of what he said. The aspect of Bola Tinubu and Lagos State, I respectfully disagree with. I think ACN, as it then was, would have won Lagos State hands down without any assistance from Jonathan at all. And I think Tinubu did a good job for the 8 years that he was there, even though we had challenges with him when we were in government. But whatever the case, I certainly don't think he sold out Lagos to the PDP. But everything else that was written in that letter, I agree with. And I think the president should sit down and he should answer these allegations in a very calm and restrained manner, and then let us make progress as a nation.
We'll go into some other issues raised in that particular letter, but I'm trying to look at the medium he has chosen to get to the president. You said he's countless of times spoken to the president because he has access to the president, or restricted access, but he has chosen to write a letter. But it reminds us of the letter Mr. Audu Ogbe once wrote to the former president Obasanjo, and how he never liked the idea that Audu Ogbe wrote him a letter. Why did he choose what he doesn't really like?
Well, the issue is this. First of all, whatever happened between Chief Audu Ogbe, who is someone I have immense respect for, we're in the same party now, happened almost 7-8 years ago. We've had 8 years to iron that out and discuss those issues. And that happened then. At the same time, I believe that it would have been very uncomfortable for the president to receive a letter, a public letter from his own party chairman. I agree with that. But that does not mean to say Audu Ogbe did the wrong thing. He did the right and proper thing at the time that he felt it was appropriate to do it. It was his choice, and of course he would live with the consequences of that. I think that's the position of Obasanjo today. He's done the right and proper thing according to his own understanding of events, and he believes that it's important to do that in order not just to save his party, the PDP, but also to save the nation, and he has to live with the consequences of that. I happen to believe that the issues raised in this very long epistle, I'd rather call it than a letter, are far more grave and serious than the issues that Audu Ogbe raised a number of years ago to President Obasanjo whilst he was still serving as president. That was essentially about the internal affairs of the party. They didn't talk about billions of dollars being stolen. They didn't talk about thieves being put in charge of our pipelines. They didn't talk about people that were indicted by American courts for drug smuggling being enthroned as leaders of the party in the Southwest. They didn't talk about hate squads. They didn't talk about the possibility of 1,000 names of opposition figures that have been targeted. They didn't talk about people that have been released from jail or detention who were perhaps being used or prepared to be used to kill other people who are against the government. I mean, these are very, very serious fundamental issues. And I would urge Nigerians not to look at the messenger so much, but to consider the message. No matter how much you hate or love Obasanjo, that's not the issue here. The issue is that cogent and fundamental questions have been asked, and they deserve an answer. They don't deserve to be ignored. They don't deserve to be treated with contempt or anger or insults from the presidency or anyone else. Let's look at the issues and let them answer the issues specifically one by one. And if he can answer them and sufficiently assure the world that these baseless allegations, then I think that we can move forward. But I am deeply concerned as an individual and as a leader in this country that some of these things are going on. They've been brought to the public knowledge, and I think that we deserve the right to know the truth.
Now, to Obasanjo's letter, in that letter he said something about having written about 4 or 5 times to the president without getting an acknowledgement or a response. But this is generating a lot of response from across board. Do you think this will bring about the desired effect?
There will be a response. I'm not sure it's the type of response that he would desire. Certainly it can't be ignored anymore. It was ignored before. The concerns that he had were communicated to President Goodluck Jonathan by Obasanjo, both in letter form and verbally on a number of occasions, as he indicated within the letter itself. And it was ignored. They were ignored. In some cases, he lied to the president, according to Obasanjo, and simply did not address the issues. Now, I think that what Obasanjo has done now is that he's brought it to another level, that, look, let the whole world be aware of the fact that I've raised these issues. I've told him privately. I'm concerned about the country. I'm concerned about the party. And it's left for Jonathan to actually respond and do something. If he likes, he can do nothing in his characteristic manner, perhaps set up a committee to probe these issues and do nothing, and he can remain silent, or he can respond in an aggressive manner and say, I've done nothing wrong and I'm an angel, and that Obasanjo, you're the demon, and in fact, let's look at your tenure. If he likes, he can take that path. And both of those, either ignoring or going on the warpath, will not all go well for him, for the people of Nigeria, or for our country, or for our democracy, because it wouldn't be the right thing to do. But he can do that if he likes. The other thing he can do, which I think would be sensible, would be to answer these allegations, deny or accept them, and retrace his steps and try to get it right, so that we can go back to playing real politics in this country, arguing about issues. I mean, I think one of the things that Obasanjo said, which struck me and really touched my heart, was the fact that, look, just because people are opposing you, he's telling Jonathan, just because people are criticizing your administration or opposing you, doesn't mean they're any less of a Nigerian than you are, or that they don't love Nigeria as much as you do. I mean, democracy's lifeblood is about discourse. It's about criticism. It's about opposition and people exchanging ideas and disagreeing publicly. Some of us that oppose this government, just as patriotic as those that are within the government. And I don't question Jonathan's patriotism or the patriotism of some of those around him. What I do question, however, are his methods and his ability to perform. And I think that what Obasanjo has done now is that those of us that were his disciples and that worked for him for a number of years, who have been very upset in the last 2 years about what's going on in this country, have been very critical of this government, and in fact, many of us have left the ruling party because of that. We can now hold our heads up high and say, no, even if Baba was instrumental in putting this man in power, the same person is now trying to admonish the president and trying to clean up the mess that he created by getting the president to do the right thing. And we wish them well, but as far as I'm concerned, it was the right and proper thing to do. He has reflected the deep concerns of the majority of people in this country, and he has almost absolved himself of any blame, because he's now come out to say, listen, get it right or else I'm against you. And I think that's an admirable thing to do.
Okay, in that letter, he likened the situation we're gradually going into to what we fell into during the Abacha era. Now, if you read down, permit me to quote from the letter, it says, you have on a number of occasions acknowledged the role God enabled me to play in your ascension to power. Now, if he likens the situation now to what was during Abacha's era, is he not likening it to the fact that he's also failed in nurturing his mentee, so to speak?
Well, that's precisely my point. I wouldn't use the word failed. I think that he made a grave error. I think it's one of I mean, Obasanjo is not an angel, and neither has he always got it right. He made a number of errors, just like any other president or any other human being. He also got a lot of things right. I think that one of the mistakes he made is the fact that he had tremendous confidence in President Goodluck Jonathan, and President Jonathan appears to have got it wrong. Now, he was his mentor. He supported him. But he didn't keep quiet and say, listen, it doesn't matter how badly you get it. I'm your mentor and I'll endorse whatever you do. He's done the right thing now and said, listen, you're getting it wrong. I'm admonishing you publicly. These are the concerns of the whole nation. Please address these concerns and begin to get it right. So even if he failed in his choice of Goodluck Jonathan and supporting him, he has now absolved himself of that failure and got it right and said, listen, it was clear that I got it wrong. Now it's left for me to try and tell this man that I put into power or that I supported to win the mandate to get it right. And I think he's retracing his steps and he's trying to get it right. So yes, it may have been a failure of judgment to put Jonathan there, but he cannot be held accountable or responsible for Jonathan's behavior post the election. Jonathan, the buck stops with Jonathan. It's not Obasanjo's government, it's Jonathan's government. And it's not a crime for Obasanjo to have had confidence in Jonathan. Jonathan failed in that respect. He failed his mentor, he failed the people of Nigeria, he failed this nation, he has failed the international community, and he has failed every black person on this planet. And he has failed Obasanjo most importantly. Now Obasanjo is reaching out and telling him and the world that this man has failed, and unless he gets it right, the country is on the brink of disaster, disintegration, division, and all manner of things. And I think that's very worrying. The comparison to the Abacha administration is the most worrying aspect to me, because if it is true, and Obasanjo has asked him that to either confirm this or deny it, if it is true that a list of 1,000 names have been drawn up, in which the names of opposition figures are there listed to be given the Abacha treatment as we get closer to 2015. If it is true that armed militias are being trained and prepared to eliminate other Nigerians, if it is true that robbers and thieves are the ones guarding our pipelines, and so on and so forth, and if it is true that the armed forces and the Nigerian police and the security agents are being used against opposition figures, I think these are issues of deep concern. And if these things are true, then we are indeed heading for disaster in this country. I repeat, it would not be good for President Jonathan, it would not be good for the members of his government, it would not be good for the Nigerian people, or indeed any of us, if these things are true. And I urge them to retrace their steps and take these admonishments by a father of the nation very seriously indeed.
Most of people are curious as to what the motive of this letter is, because you've mentioned two things. You've talked about how this will be the end of President Jonathan, and how the president or former president wants him to listen. Now, some people are saying that he just wants him back on his apron strings. What exactly do you think is the motive of this particular letter?
Excuse me, let me just intervene there. The motive is self-evident. He listed a number of reasons why he wrote this letter in the first paragraph of that. I believe there were 8 reasons. If you read those 8 reasons, you will know what the motive is. But let me go further by saying it's clear that his motivation is simply to restore the fortunes of his party. And I personally think the fortunes of that particular party can never be restored. We saw this coming long time ago. The PDP is a sinking ship. So I think that to that extent, Obasanjo will not achieve his ambition. But at least he's trying. His motive is to restore the fortunes of his party, ensure that they come together once again and form a formidable party and get it right. His motive is also to ensure that some of the allegations that have been made there are addressed, that we get the right answers to these questions, and if some of them are true, for the president to retrace his steps and do the right thing. These are honorable motives as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing sinister and there's nothing illicit about it. It's the right and proper thing to do.
And then we also taken a strong exception to the fact that the letter was, according to them, deliberately leaked to the mass media. And they're saying that that smacks of, being mischievous, as it were. Do you also share the view in terms of the fact that the letter was leaked, because it would seem that it was meant to achieve a certain purpose to that effect?
Okay, let me answer 2 things. Because you came in with another one later. Let me go back to the issue of apron strings. If he wanted Jonathan to be on his apron strings, he certainly wouldn't oppose him privately or publicly. What he would do is endorse his every action and keep his mouth shut, no matter what the consequences are for his party and for the nation. So issue of apron strings does not arise. This is not the way to behave. And if you want somebody to be on your apron strings, and for the last 3 years, he has not been on Obasanjo's apron strings. It's self-evident. There's been a civil war within the PDP, and everybody knows that. And I believe that Obasanjo is not interested in that. What I believe he's interested in is trying to restore the fortunes of his party, which is falling apart. Now, on the issue of mischief, which I think was your second point, again, I don't think it's mischievous for him to raise fundamental issues that every Nigerian is concerned about. I mean, come on, let's face it. We need to be honest with one another. We have a duty before God and our people as leaders to address some of these issues. And he's addressing that. He, more than anybody else, must do this. Otherwise, history will not be kind to him, simply because he supported this man to come in. But he's doing the right thing now. He's asking the relevant questions. He's concerned about the future of our country and the future of the president himself. He's trying to assist the president, and I think we should commend Obasanjo for that.
Well, Chief Femi Fani-Kayode, would like to thank you very much for finding time to spend with us from our Abuja studios. He's been speaking on the former president's letter. All right, so let's take a moment now.